got a question here. How do you recommend teaching kids financial literacy in a digital age? We don't use cash, canteen is digital, payments, etc. That's a really good question. So let's dive into this question. So I don't know whether you guys have downloaded my 6 secret money hacks, which is free to download in my bio page. So how do you apply these hacks in the digital age that we have now, where everything is like tap and pay? And soon over time, we're going to see a non-existence of cash. So how do we teach, financial literacy to our kids as per this question? You can't touch it, you can't hold it, and you can't see it. And as for our kids, out of sight, out of mind, if they don't see it, they can't learn it. So this is what I'm doing for my family and my kids, and hopefully it works for you. What I'm doing right now is, we're introducing debit cards to our kids, these things over here. Debit cards, these things, we give them to our kids. I have 2 boys, 5 and 7, and I'll give them 1 each. And there are variations of how to give debit cards, and I'll describe them in this video for you right now. So first of all, you can give them debit cards from the major banks you deal with. So I am based in Australia. If you could see over here, and I took a screenshot of it, we have the 4 major banks, ANZ, CBA, NAB, and Westpac. And there are actually age requirements for giving kids debit cards, and it obviously doesn't work for my family, my 2 kids, 5 and 7, because the minimum age is 12, 9, 14, 12 years old. It doesn't work for me. But if you have kids that are 9 to 12 years old and above, of course it works for you. But what if you have kids under 10? So what I'll be looking at doing is, there are non-banks that are doing it. For example, there is a company called FLX. Then there is the Commonwealth Bank sponsored app, which is KIT. And there's Spriggy and then Zap. Minimum age requirement is 6 years old. But the only problem with these debit cards is that they charge fees. For example, over here, you can see there's fee. And by the way, guys, this PDF I'm working against, you can get it in my bio page. It's free to download if you want more information on these debit cards if you're based in Australia. But back to describing this, yes, there are fees. I don't know if you're from other countries than Australia. I'm sure there are banks that do charge fees. So do be wary when you're trying to introduce this to your kids. And it can be quite annoying. What I'm doing right now, which is an alternative, is I am setting up a spare transaction account under our names. For example, my wife and my name. So we have a debit card open for a spare transaction account, because we have, other accounts open with the specific bank. There's no fees, right? So we just open up a extra account with a extra debit card attached to it. And obviously from here, we only allocate a small portion, which is allocated to our child. And in this instance, you can still apply the 6 hacks system that I talked about. For example, in the hack number 1, which is giving them an allowance, setting up $8 a week of allowance, where $4 is their basic allowance. And if they do their chores, they get an extra $4. What you can do is, they do their chores at every end of the weekend, which is Sunday for us. We accumulate all the money that they've collated, which we tabulate through, a simple spreadsheet. For example, we have allowance given week 1, and then, did a request for an advance in money. For example, a loan. Did we charge them interest? And what is the allowance each next week? And then from there, we then go over to here, which is the money that we allocate to our kids, and we deposit the funds in their debit card. And in this instance, if your canteen is cashless, well, they can then use their debit card to pay for certain things. For example, lollies, ice blocks. When they come back home and they have a favorite app they want to buy through their iPad or their whatever Android system, play their whatever games, they can use that debit card to pay for it. And obviously, when we do this, we also talk about the pros and cons, which you can read from my guide over here, which is the most obvious pro is that, it's obviously safer than carrying cash around. And you can always lock the card if, it gets stolen. The obvious cons is that if you don't go through my alternative method, certain debit cards through the banks and non-banks have an age limit, and they also have fees, right? But if you go through my method, well, there's a loophole. You get it for free, and you can teach them the 6 secret hacks that I've taught in my viral video and in that guide as well, in this cashless digital age. I think it's very important to adapt these 6 secret money hacks if the country you're operating, or the school you're operating, or the environment that you're operating is cashless. And sometimes don't overload your kids with too much concept of cashless, physical cash, all that stuff. I think for the best part is you can grab my book, which is Nana the Naughty Savings Job, which takes a very 100-step back approach in teaching kids just the basic concepts of savings through a very hilarious character, Nana over here. I think it's very important that we start with stories first, introducing characters that they can relate. Then you can go back and then apply the 6 secret money hacks. Because sometimes without story, the hacks can be really dry for your kids. If they can relate to a character and what the character is learning, then definitely they can digest the information more, and in the best outcome, they can apply it in their young lives. And then hopefully with these tips, guys, your kids can be more financially savvy. And of course, my main theme is that you can end the generational poverty curse in your family. Thank you for your question.